What's up, everybody? We're here to talk UFC 286, Edwards versus Usman, the trilogy. So before we get into fight talk, you're gonna need to like, subscribe this video, and go ahead and share it with everybody that you know. Let's get it.
Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Alex,
What's up, brother?
cheers, my brother.
Cheers. I'm dry tonight, not even water.
Oh shit, you feeling okay?
I'm just super tired, but like I'm super excited about this event, even though we had that 2 weeks ago, John Jones, I think this is pretty interesting one that can pump us up even like we are still not recovered from big event like few weeks ago and even last week we had the one that we skipped.
Yeah,
But I guess we needed some break. So
totally
let's
can
break,
recover from last week, so we're
yeah,
good.
let's say it like that, and let's break this down. So
All
let's
right,
start
well,
right away to the business.
yeah, right away. Let's get into this main event. We got a trilogy match coming into here. You can see right away Leon Edwards is 2 inches taller than Usman. Don't let anybody tell you that 2 inches is nothing. There's a huge height difference if you just look at these pictures.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you go by these pictures, like I think they're like a different category. Can I go
yeah, and
first?
they even have Usman with a belt still. Like I don't know what's happening right here.
Not updated, not updated, and that's official UFC, like from their app. That's what I'm using for our pictures. So I guess somebody doesn't do their work, or maybe they're like hoping that Usman will get the belt back so they can cut some work.
I
Who
think
knows?
if UFC really wants to get their act together, they gotta hire whoever is setting up all the media for Power Slap because Power Slap is off the charts right now with all their media.
Are we really commenting even that in our show? Like, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I guess many people like what I saw Dana White using the narrative, like how many people were like against MMA at the beginning, and now it's like one of the biggest sport. And now, like same, it's happening with Power Slap, and I see, and I think like even now, most of his attention is going that direction.
Yeah,
Um, and now, like when you said that, and even though I didn't want to talk about it, it's really interesting. If you go like to the new generation, attention span, and all that shit that's going on, um, it makes sense. Like even now, we are not watching videos like longer. How many people like tune in our video, and how many people stay till the end? You need to cut it, how to say, to the most general public, the attention span, and they just want to fast something. And I think Power Slap is exactly that. Like, what do you have? Like two guys in front of each other, slap, slap, and that's it. So I think maybe that's they're hitting in the right direction. That's the maybe next big thing. I just like, for me personally, I cannot be behind that, and I think I will never be. Maybe
I
when you
mean,
start betting on it, maybe I will do that part.
really. I mean, I think you're right. Like they have they're onto something. They're moving in the right direction as far as getting viewers, but I think as martial artists, like we fucking hate that.
I mean,
Like it's garbage. But to contrast that, we have this main event with two of the current best welterweights fighting right now. And and there's obviously a potential for a knockout in that. So I think if you're into watching fights with the potential of knockouts, you're looking at Leon Edwards defending his title against Kamaru Usman. Uh, who do you have going into this? Like, do you think that knockout potential is still there, even though I mean, in the majority of their two fights, Leon Edwards he wasn't doing that hot.
yeah, but again, like on this one, I'm gonna go more like we had first match, when they were like young fighters, still not. build up completely in their skill set and becoming what they are today. Like you said, two of the best in that category at this moment. Um, then we had a, let's say, previous fight. They're both at the peak. If you go to the first round and what Edwards did to Usman, it's really amazing. Let's add that altitude and whatever happened with his body that he shut off. Like people forget that. They're just like Usman was winning that fight. No, he lost the first round decisively, and then he started like winning. But like I think Edwards shut off. His body wasn't there. Now we have like him coming back after KO of Usman. Like that's big boost. Like he said, like even on my worst performance, I managed to beat him up. We have Kamaru coming off KO. That never happened to him before. So it's a big for me. I think it's the mental aspect of that fight. Also question where is Usman? Is he already with one foot outside the fighting? You know, so many questions is going to be answered this weekend, and I think skill set they're pretty close. It's going to be mental. Who is really into that fight, and I think everything is on the side of Edwards. Especially home crowd. I think everything works for him, and especially plus 200 or 200 something, it's working for me. And last time I cashed on him pretty good. I think I was like couple hundreds up, so I have to go. I have
Really? I forgot about that. You put money on Edwards in the last fight?
Yep.
Madman.
hmm
Well, I mean, for me, I'm thinking Leon Edwards. Obviously, he got that knockout. It wasn't lucky. He set it up, and he's very skilled. But I do think it's a little bit of that like lightning striking, and as they say, like lightning doesn't strike twice. I think Usman is generally the better fighter. Yes, he did lose that first round. Yes, he got knocked out. But if you look minute to minute, round to round, he's winning the majority of the time. So I think just statistically, I got to go with Usman for this one. He had a brief hiccup where he got knocked out, but as long as he stays on the grappling, it's going to be a lot harder for Leon Edwards to get that surprise takedown that he did in the first round, where I think Usman wasn't expecting it, and then fight off all the subsequent takedowns. But I mean, I see your point where Edwards, he was doubting himself in the last fight, and then I think like his corner did a phenomenal job, kind of waking him up in that moment. And going into this fight, he's not going to be doubting himself, like because he has the belt. So it's probably going to be a different fight in that regard. Edwards is going to come with the right attitude, right mindset. I just think that the skills are going to speak for themselves in this one. Usman's going to be able to out grapple him and get it done there.
Let's see. This is fun. I like when we go opposite ways.
Yeah, we actually have quite a bit of that on this card, except for this one coming up right here. In the co-main event, we got Rafael Fiziev, Justin Gaethje, another instance where the UFC photo editors forgot to take the belt away, but that's cool. Justin Gaethje, he's a champ. One time, he's a forever champ, but he's actually coming off of a loss to Charles Oliveira versus Rafael Fiziev, who's on a 6-fight winning streak. A lot of those are finishes against really good guys. So tell us who you see winning this fight, Alex.
But like you said, I think we are both on Rafael for this one. I just think Gaethje in his style, he can beat anyone. Just like the fights that he had. Like I mean, he's superhuman. Let's be honest,
Yeah.
and he's one of the toughest out there. But I think like everybody has a limit, and I think too many wars are taking the toll on him, and especially Rafael in his style, how he fights, like he stays really secure, and then when he goes really explosive and really precise. I think it's gonna be too much for him. So let's see. I will be I wouldn't be surprised if Gaethje gets some crazy KO, but like I mean, it's just like small opening, and that's why I decided to go with a favorite in this one, and I put my money on Rafael.
Hmm. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. He's shown like superhuman ability to just like live and thrive in chaos. Justin Gaethje does, but everyone has a limit. I do think that limit's coming. He did get rocked by Oliveira and dropped by Oliveira before he got choked out. So it's something that he's been able to lean on a lot throughout his career, having a good enough chin to get rocked, but still be able to fight smart afterwards. But against someone like Fiziev, who's really good at picking his shots, and I think specifically his kicks up the middle and his knees up the middle are going to give Justin Gaethje some trouble, And also, like Fiziev, he likes to mix those in with hooks to get around the guard. He used all those strikes really well against RDA, and then eventually he was able to finish RDA. So I just think Justin Gaethje, if his chin is still there, which I hope it is, like it's gonna be an interesting fight because Justin Gaethje, from close range, he's one of the few guys that likes to throw low kicks, even from a super close range. So that's interesting. But going against Fiziev, who has so much experience in Muay Thai, he's predominantly a striker. Um, the way I think Fiziev is going to lose is getting out grappled. Like RDA showed this some moments in their match, like when he was able to rough him up against the cage. Those are the moments that he had success. Justin Gaethje has never shown that. Like at least I can remember. I don't know if you've seen any moment where Justin Gaethje even attempted offensive wrestling or grappling. Like
No, no, and that's weird because like he has that ability. He's really solid in that department, but just like we don't see it that often. Like super rarely. I cannot even remember now when you ask it. Like I don't know when he last time like did something like that. He just goes and he brings the chaos and like that, like what you said, that kicks from the low close distance, that hips flexibility is like again, it's not human. Like what he can do. But just like I think he's like if you just go back to the Chandler fight, that was fight of the year, like and like fights that he had before, that he managed to end up on top, and then after Khabib, I
mm,
think that took away from him. He had even like amazing start against Khabib, like
they,
yeah, and then like I just think he's slowing down, and but let's see this weekend, maybe you know he's refreshed and we're gonna see like best edition, but like I just think like that he's done, to be honest.
I think it's kind of funny. I heard in an interview a while ago from him on why he doesn't like to wrestle. And his reasoning, I agree with. Like, wrestling is super tiring, right? It's exhausting. But at the same time, if you look at his fights, like the back and forth he has, the exchanges, getting rocked, getting back up, and fighting again, like that's exhausting too. Can you imagine if he just used his offensive wrestling and then laid on the guy and just like slowed them down that way? Like, I think it's funny his reasoning for not wrestling, even though I agree with it, because like he still has an amazing gas tank and he's using it in his fights too.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand him. Like, just like if you're not comfortable mixing everything up, it's just like it's so taxing. That's not normal. Like even now, I know when I came back and I'm trying to train like on weekends, a little bit MMA, kickboxing, and when we have last 3 rounds on Saturday, like MMA, I stay in the big gloves and I try just like even though my grappling is better than all the guys that train over there, I try just to do kickboxing. Even when I take them down, I feel tired more
Yeah.
than I would feel just doing jujitsu or even just wrestling. Like it's just like mixing everything up is like the most taxing, I think, and that's why MMA is like if you don't have like cardio, you cannot do it, especially now on this level. Like it's so when when you're using all the tools. I think it's one of the most cardio demanded sport in the world.
Mm. I'd agree. He's got a good point. But it would be interesting to see him bust out some wrestling against Fiziev. I think it would be the smart choice because he probably has an advantage there. But nonetheless, it's going to be an exciting fight, a striking war.
I think he never approached smart to any fight, even though his coach is like super, how to say, scientifically
Yeah.
approach and everything, but let's see, and it's funny, like again we have like two students of Trevor Whitman on the same card, co-main and main event.
He does that quite often, huh?
Yeah, and I think two times we had like the three of them, Rose,
Yep.
or at least one time. Rose, Justin, and Usman. I
Yeah.
think it was like one or two events so far, and now we have like two of his guys. So that's pretty interesting. I guess like he doesn't like to travel and push them in the same event.
Yeah. No, it makes his workload a little bit easier, I guess, throughout the year.
And good paycheck after.
That's true. All right. On to the next one. I forget who you picked for this one, but this is an interesting one. We got Gunnar Nelson versus Brian Barbarena. This is actually a bit of a short notice fight that Barbarena is taking against Gunnar Nelson. I forget who Gunnar Nelson was supposed to fight. Do you remember?
Uh,
Well,
no, not on top of my head, but I think we posted like a couple weeks ago, so
yeah.
I'll remember like while we are talking.
I mean, it's a good fight. I think for Gunnar Nelson, if you just look at the guys that he's fought, he typically fights a higher caliber fighter, I think. And when he loses, again, it's against generally a higher caliber fighter than Brian Barberena. And I don't even mean that like disparagingly, but if you look at the last few guys that Gunner has lost to, we're talking about Gilbert Burns, who fought for a title and he was on a 6 fight win streak. We're talking about Leon Edwards, the current champion, who at the time, Gunnar Nelson was part of that 10 fight win streak of Leon Edwards. And then Santiago Ponzinibbio, who kind of fell off a little bit as of recently, but also 7 fight win streak. So the guys that he's coming up short against, they're at the very top of the division. And that being said, even though I'm picking Gunnar Nelson to win, I think he's generally a better fighter. His striking is cleaner, better, more accurate, and more effective. And his grappling is on a whole different level than Brian Barberena. But the one thing I'll say, like Barbarena can have against Gunner, is that he likes to make it a brawl. And if he's brawling against Gunnar Nelson, who moves really well forward and backward, very linear in his karate like style of striking, I think if Brian Barbarena can kind of not chase him, but extend that exchange and catch him at the end of Gunnar Nelson's retreating, where his hands are generally down, his chin is up. That could be a path to victory. I just think Gunnar Nelson's too good. He's going to be able to see that coming, level change. And if he gets Brian Barberena down, it's going to be an easy fight from there. How do you see this going down?
Exactly how you said, like RDA showed in the last fight, like what's the level of Brian Barberena.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like if you take him down, that's easy night for Gunnar Nelson. So I think like and yeah, I remember Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to fight Gunnar Nelson. That
That's
would be a much more interesting fight. Like Brian jumped in a super bad matchup for him. So I think that's like minus 360, and I put him on. I picked Gunnar. That's saying a lot. I just don't see the chance for Brian Barberena except of puncher, lucky punch.
mm-hmm.
So I think it's gonna be too much for him. Especially the where is the Gunnar the best. Barberena is so bad at that aspect that I think it's gonna be just easy night for him if he doesn't get caught with something.
Yeah, Gunnar Nelson, if he gets it down, like I think every single time like he's grappling, the commentating booth will mention that he beat Jeff Monson in ADCC, who's like a huge monster. And if there's a bet on DraftKings whether or not they're gonna mention this, like I would put money on that. I think they will. But
Yeah, I mean, like I had the opportunity to grapple with Jeff,
yeah.
Florida, yeah, and I was in Turtle, and he put his weight on me, and I think he just like he flat me down. It was like that big pressure, you know. I mean, I did pretty good against him, but I remember exactly that position. I was like in turtle. He put the weight on my hip, and I just like start like slowly going down, and I was like flat on the ground. It's crazy.
I mean, he's a big fucking dude. So yeah, if you don't know, Gunnar Nelson's much smaller than Jeff Monson. So to beat him, that's very impressive.
I agree.
All right. Next up, this is probably I haven't seen the odds yet, but in my odds, this is the closest fight on the card. Yeah, pretty close odds. We got Casey O'Neill versus Jennifer Maia. Casey O'Neill is an undefeated fighter. Nice young prospect climbing up the ranks. I'm actually not picking her to win this one, despite her having a undefeated record and looking pretty well in her fights. The thing with me is she's coming off of a torn ACL injury, and that's less than a year ago. That's a pretty short recovery for, I think, an ACL injury. So how much grappling is she doing in her fight camp during that recovery? How much moving around is she doing? And she does usually have really good movement when her knees are healthy. So against someone like Jennifer Maia, who has good enough striking to set up the pressure against the cage, set up her takedowns, and kind of wear on you. She's more of a jiu-jitsu fighter with some boxing. I think this is a bad matchup for Casey O'Neill to come back to, coming off of a ACL injury. But you know, if she's fighting up to her peak ability, I think this is a good fight for Casey. But it is a tough stylistic match, and yeah, that's why I'm going with Maia for this one. How about you?
Yeah, I did the opposite on this one. I went with Casey. It's just like I think it's gonna be interesting, and I think who is gonna win this fight is gonna be in grappling exchanges. You know,
Mhm.
and I just like what I saw from her. I think she's pretty aggressive, pretty good, and she's gonna get it done. You know, like that information. Let's see, that went under my radar. That she was like for a year out. So
Yeah,
maybe that I had that, I would maybe go different way. But I think she's gonna get it. You know, like I think she's just a level above. You know, and that hype, undefeated,
hmm
and that's it. I didn't even go too much in deep in this fight. Like I just like what I saw. I went towards her, and that's it. I'm gonna be short on this one.
yeah. What is cool, interesting to me about Casey O'Neill is most of her fights in the UFC are stoppage, and most of them she's very much a pressure fighter, coming forward and mixing up her strikes with the takedown attempts. But in her last fight against Roxanne Modafferi, it was like a completely different Casey O'Neill. She's moving really well side to side, and she was actually fighting going backwards, allowing Roxanne Modafferi to pressure forward and just kind of pick her shots against Roxanne. But in doing that, I thought Roxanne was actually landing quite a bit against Casey O'Neill, and seeing how Jennifer Maia is really good at timing her straight shots, I do think she's gonna pepper Casey O'Neill a bit more than she likes, and that's gonna kind of mess with her timing. So that's where I see Jennifer Maia is gonna do it. She's gonna land the straight punches. I'll grapple her, and I think win or lose, Casey O'Neill is going to make her way to the top. I just don't think this is going to be the fight that catapults her to the top.
Yeah, I would like really to see that. I like now what you said, and I think her ability to take the punch is like really amazing. You know,
Yeah.
like you said in the last fight, she get better with the movement, but before, if you can watch her fight at the beginning in UFC, like she was like just like eating punches and going like even that like not even going for the jab, trying to grab the leg, going for the takedowns. Like it's
Hmm.
just like it's gonna be interesting like to see because I think she's like one of the like punchable person, but like still pushing forward and getting the positions that she wants.
Yeah, something very admirable about that. But nonetheless, I'm going with Maya. I'd be happy to be wrong. Let's see how it goes down this weekend. Next up, we got the opening fight to the card. Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. Dolidze, that's some dude that we've talked about a few times now. I think he's an interesting fighter in that his grappling ability is pretty dang high, and yet most of his fights that he has won in the UFC are by knockout or TKO. So that's pretty interesting to me, going against Marvin Vittori, who's a good all around fighter, but I wouldn't say he's absolutely special in any one area. Although I think it's impressive how well he can take head kicks, like from Paulo Costa and Robert Whitaker. That's fucking insane. Um, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Another very punchable person that can take a punch.
Yep.
Uh, Interesting. Like you said, like if you look Marvin Vittori, like and you can say he's not special in any department, but like he's really good in mixing it up,
Hmm.
being always prepared, pushing the pace, and he's just like tough. Let's say that's maybe like very he's extraordinary. He's super tough, and I don't know, just like with the Roman, like last time, I think we did a good pick. I got some money on him, even though he had like really bad performance. But like in his defense, it was a short notice. Um, but like still, he managed to find a way to victory. Like
Yeah.
it was amazing submission. Like I think one of the best that we saw recently in UFC. I cannot even remember when we saw the better one.
Bro, you know what? I thought it was a submission too. I thought it was like a calf slicer. I went back and it was actually a TKO because he during the calf slicer he was just raining down punches. But I agree. That's like that's a position that we have not seen in like in UFC or high level MMA.
No, but like let's keep it on submission. They can put whatever they
Yeah.
want. Like for me, that's submission. Like he came basically to position uh where he submitted him. He just like get a finish by punches. Let's say like that. But like from
For
that
sure.
position, Hermansen, who is like super tough, who couldn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
And in my position, that's like submission. Like it's just like the punch is like okay, made it for officially to be over. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think now with the full camp, like and what we saw in the first fights, from him, I just decided to go with him,
Mhm.
especially his underdog. I think Marvin Vittori is just like he's like a gatekeeper of top echelon of middleweight. And I think Roman Dolas is gonna be really interesting mix in that category, and this is his gate to that top level, and I think he can pass it. Like, let's say in the last fight, he had some, how to say, uh, level that he has to cross it, and he had really bad performance and managed to find the finish,
Mhm.
and I really appreciate guys who can finish on many different ways. And we saw from him like a spectacular KO. What was that? We were saying it was knee, but it was like a high kick. Like no, it was a
Maybe it was
from the
Phil
high kick.
Hawes. Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
a high kick that ended up being a knee, I think. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. He's just like I think walking highlight reel,
Mhm.
and driving on that hype and that really success that he had in last couple of fights. I think he has that ability to beat and even finish Marvin Vittori. I don't remember honestly, like when was Vittori finished last time, or did he even?
I don't think he has been finished. He's lost a few fights, maybe 3 fights. but I don't believe he's been finished.
No, like we said, that's his super ability, being super tough. So I think
And
maybe he's the first guy that can finish him.
That's actually what I was thinking too. I picked Vettori to win because he's fought better fighters than Dolidze. He's been in all these main events. He's been in title fights, and so because of that, I'm kind of leaning towards him. But when you think of stylistically, like how does he want to win? Usually, he wants to eat enough punches, throw enough punches to get them down. And if you're taking Roman Dolidze down, I don't think that's like the smartest thing to do because he could fuck you up with his strikes. He likes to throw elbows, which I think is underutilized in the guard, is just throwing elbows from the bottom. But also he has great like closed guard sweeps, like how he's using from Hermanson. That's also very rare that we see in like MMA, like a butt or not his flower sweep, a pendulum sweep. Like that's very rare. And for him to do that against someone like Jack Hermanson twice, that just shows his ability in the grappling. So if Marvin Vettori plays the game that he wants to play, that could be playing right into where Roman Dolidze wants to be. So I'm still going with Vettori to win, but like the idea of Dolidze finishing him, whether it's from strikes from the bottom or like strikes from a weird calf slicer or a weird submission, like that's not off the table for me. I think that could definitely happen.
Yeah, like you said, if it's gonna be, I think Vittori by decision or Roman by some submission or KO. So I just think he has more weapons to finish that fight. And if it's five rounds, I would be like 100% Roman. Like this 3 rounds, maybe Marvin can squeeze it in and get a victory. I'm not like saying that he will not win this fight, but I'm just saying Roman is like, with all what we said and with the odds on him, I'm just gonna have to go with him. It's just like it makes more sense for me.
Yeah. I mean, the odds definitely lean towards that way. And like if Dolidze is able to get a finish on Vettori, that's saying a lot about his ability because Vittori's been in there with guys like Stylebender 2 times, Paulo Costa, Robert Whitaker. He's fought in guys who usually win by like knockout TKO. So for Dolidze to go in there, if he can get it done, I think that's going to be a huge statement for that division.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I'm expecting that, to be honest.
It'd be nice to see a little bit of a change up from what we're seeing at the near the top of the middleweight. But let's recap a little bit all of our picks. If we're looking at this card, the whole card, we'll see. So I'm going with Usman to get the title back. Alex thinks Leon Edwards can keep his title. We'll see about that. And then the co-main, this is one of the few fights we agree with. That's Rafael Fiziev getting it done against Justin Gaethje. I think he's gonna finish him. I think that you thought he's gonna finish him as well, KO or TKO. I could see that happening. Gunnar Nelson, we both think he's just a level above Brian Barbarena, who's taking it on short notice. This could be a potentially very easy fight for Gunnar Nelson, or it could be a stunning knockout loss. So let's see about that. And then the last two we kind of disagree on. Casey O'Neill versus Jennifer Maia. I'm going with Maia. I think she's more battle tested, more experienced. And Alex is going with a young prospect, Casey O'Neill, who looks very promising as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if she wins, but I'm going with Maia. And then again, we just went over Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. Alex is going with the knockout ace that is actually a grappler, Roman Dolidze. That would be pretty cool against the, again, battle-tested Marvin Vettori. So if we look at our picks and we look at the odds that are given for these fights, whose picks are these? Let's see.
I was even thinking twice. I'm gonna call you now, Pat McDonald's.
I mean, this is a good bag from McDonald's, man. I think this is everything on the menu if I win.
Let's check mine.
And yours, all right. Where are we eating with this winning?
I don't know, some fancy place. I think they have for two steaks and one drink to split.
I'm in for that. Well, I think we got a good fight card ahead of us. I'm hoping for some, I mean, submissions always, but knockouts would be cool as well. Any pick that you're, if you had to put everything on it, like that you're sure, like it's a lock.
I mean, I would go with Gunnar Nelson, but like on minus 360, I would just not play with that. Like,
Yeah.
you know how I am. I would never go all in on one, you know. But
Right.
like, let's say if I really have to pick from this five, and I would go with Leon Edwards.
Oh, okay, interesting. For me, these are all very closely contested. I stand by my picks, but probably Gunnar Nelson is the one I'm most confident in. And Casey O'Neill versus Jennifer Maia, that's the one I'm least confident in. That's kind of like a toss up to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said plus 205. That's it. You know, I would never like put all in on minus 360. You know, just for me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I would always risk more. And for me, if you look these two matchups, it's more or less similar odds. You know, more or less every time is 50-50, but it's not really 50-50. Like
Yeah.
we said, like even one uh, small details. Let's say you slip and high kick is flying in, and I mean Usman knows that the best. So I'm gonna go again with Edwards as my lock for this main event.
Yeah, I'm hoping Usman doesn't slip up this time, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I guess if Edwards wins, do you think Usman retires?
Very possibly, you know, like what to do after that.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a weird position when in multiple fights in a row now Usman has said in the lead up he has all these injuries, he's already planning his way out, he's not going to stay very long. It kind of makes you question his motivation going into this, but there's nothing more motivating than a loss to a guy like, yo, I think he wants to get this one back.
You know, you said it now the best, and you went against all what you're saying now. Like as soon as you start thinking about and you're 1 foot outside,
Yeah.
you're not ready to be in this game, you know, especially on this level. So I think you have still time to change your opinion about it. Or
Maybe I'll do what you do and go against my pick the night of, and I'll join in some live betting.
sounds good to me. Okay, let's leave it for a Saturday night and see you guys back on Sunday evening with breakdown and results. And until then, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, all those things. I don't have a song for this time, but I'm gonna prepare it for the next time. So,
You heard the man, and if he doesn't find it next time, you gotta deal with him singing it. So let's
uh,
let's like and subscribe before that happens.
even though I have a mic, I'm not gonna dare to sing. I'm afraid of my singing.
Likewise. All right. Ciao, everybody. Peace.